Welcome to Film Strip, featuring Nick.
They are coming. They are coming. They are not only coming, they are here.
And Jay.
It better be important.
These podcasts will be spoiler-filled and contain in-depth discussions of the plots, characters, and themes. All content used or discussed in this podcast is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.
Welcome to Film Strip. I'm Jay.
And I'm Nick.
This is our review of Critters 2, the main course, starring Terrence Mann, Don Opper, and Scott Grimes. Directed by Mick Garris. Released in 1988 on a budget of $4.5 million, it grossed $3.8 million at the box office. So let me just ask you, man, was that cliffhanger enough for a sequel, do you think?
Well, we got a sequel to Alien with just the premise of eggs being on a ship, so why not get a sequel to Critters with the premise of eggs being on a farm?
Yeah, I guess so. And the setup this time is that the farm has been abandoned, and the eggs finally hatch. I mean, I love how they go right back to what they had last time. I mean, they don't try to reinvent the formula here.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be the same town and most of the same cast. I mean, yeah, we're only going to bring back one of the family.
Right.
But the rest of the town folks are pretty much the same if they're still alive.
Right, yeah, like Emmett Walsh gets replaced by Barry Corbin as the sheriff, but, I mean, I've always thought of those actors, they don't look anything alike, but they act very similar. So that was interchangeable for me. I was fine with that. So other than that, Scott Grimes got a few more years on him, and then we don't see anybody else. So, yeah, that's and we get Terrence Mann and Don Opper back. So what else can you want?
Playboy Playmate?
Yeah, we'll get one of those too. So, well, why don't you tell us, Nick, what in the heck is Critters 2, the main course, about?
Sure. The town of Grover's Bend, Kansas, once again is terrorized by little furry intergalactic balls of teeth and fur. This time, those eggs from the last movie are discovered and begin to hatch. As the Krites feed, they begin to roll together into massive, unstoppable balls of fury. Bounty hunters Ugg and Lee, along with Charlie, are sent back to take care of the problem, where they meet up with Brad, who is in town visiting his grandmother. Along the way, Lee is killed, and Ugg goes back to his alien form in despair. Eventually, the townsfolk and Ugg lead the Krites to a frozen burger plant where they try to blow them up, but the Krites escape and roll towards the people who are holed up in a church. Just before they reach the building, Charlie crashes Ugg's ship into the alien horde, destroying them. But have no fear, Charlie parachuted out in time, and he stays behind in the town to be the new sheriff.
Yes, and Brad gets to kiss a girl. Because it takes him 5 minutes to do it, but he does. Yeah. So, okay. So let's just talk about it here. The setup is that the Browns have abandoned their farm, right? Like it looks destroyed. Like it looked pristine at the end of the last one, but apparently they just bailed out of town at the end of that last one.
I guess. I don't know why. I mean, they're gone. They got your house back. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's too much for the mom or something. I don't know. It just, to me, it was just like, yep, you're not going to get everybody back, so let's just kind of remove the parents. I mean, it's almost kind of like Poltergeist 3, where it's like, you're going to get rid of all the, who are they, the Freelings in Poltergeist, that's their name? Yeah, and all you're going to bring back is Carol Ann. And really, I mean, that's all you need is really Brad. I mean, the other three were kind of superfluous there, and Brad was kind of the main character for the family. So we get him back to start out the movie with, and he's, coming back into town, and he's talking to the bus driver, and the bus driver, is like, oh, yeah, going to town. You ever hear about them aliens that come over here? And, of course, Brad's playing off like he's never been to this town before.
Yeah, or no, I'm just coming to visit Grandma, but no, I don't know the Browns, and he's hiding his luggage tag and all that stuff. Yeah, how about old Brad here? He's grown up a little bit. His hair's, he's got like the 80s mullet going on, and he's got that one earring going. He's definitely, they definitely moved over to, I don't know, Manhattan, Kansas, maybe? I don't know. They went to the city. They got out of Smallville, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And even before this, we open up this movie, and we open up on a distant alien world, and we see this guy walking around with basically looks like a Slipknot mask on.
Yeah.
And he's walking around, and also like this pretty cheesy looking worm comes down and attacks him, and then another guy shoots him. It turns out Well, that's Charlie, and
Yeah.
Charlie's with the bounty hunters.
Yeah, so my question is answered. Charlie did get on the ship and go back with Ugg and Lee. And Lee, still not happy with his form, is just walking around as the alien, which no longer have the glowing faces. Now they're just like, it looks like silly putty on their face. And Ugg is stuck with Johnny Steele, so the whole time. But yeah, Charlie.
He really likes that form. I mean, even now, I mean, they weren't human, but he wants to stay in his human form. I mean, who knows? Maybe he's doing that just to make Charlie feel normal, since Charlie's not a shapeshifter like they are.
Good point. And that's the thing they'll play with through this film. Like, Ugg really cares about Charlie, because when they get called back to Earth, the whole thing is Charlie's like, yeah, y'all aren't like gonna leave me there, right? And I love how Ugg talks like caveman for a minute. Ugg like Charlie, not leave Charlie, but it's obvious they've become friends. And we see Charlie here. The last time he was the lovable loser. Well, he's still kind of a bumbling guy, but clearly he's useful. Like, he basically picks up the things they kill and throws them into their meat locker, I guess. I don't know. What was that?
I took it as like a Predator trophy case or something. They keep the stuff in there.
If the Predators start on Fraggle Rock, then that would be what that trophy case looks like.
I don't know, man. With the way the Predator franchise is going, it might end up at Fraggle Rocks, but we'll talk about that another week.
Yeah, some other day. But yeah, I don't know. I liked it, though. I liked that Charlie was a useful member of the group here, and we have everything else back, right? And Brad's coming back in town, and I love how, that is news to Lin Shaye, who now works for the newspaper because the old sheriff is gone, and the new sheriff is apparently a Bruce Campbell ripoff. And I love how, when he shows up, it's the kid that cried critter is back. I mean, she's just full of really tropey, goofy lines. I mean, the thing about this one that really differentiates it from the last one, to me, I felt like the last one, the town was small and everything was kind of quaint and it was nice. Here, everybody's really over the top, and there's a lot more people, it seems like.
Yeah, it does seem like there's more people here, but we really didn't get to see the town very much in the last one, and I really kind of just blame that on the budget. I mean, we did get to see a little bit of stuff with them at the church, and then, the bowling alley when they went in there and everything like that. So we did get to see some of the townspeople. But in this one, I mean, they're fleshing it out a little bit more. I mean, they needed to do something more than just have this at a farm.
Yeah.
And, they need to increase the scale. So instead of doing it in a town at a farm, they're expanding it to the town itself. So
right. And it looks like a little town, like the town that the three supervillains from Superman 2 attack. It's very much Houston, Idaho. Or wherever that
definitely.
was. Yeah, it feels like, back lot from, Tombstone of the West or whatever. But
I was actually going to say it kind of felt like Tombstone.
Yeah, it definitely had that sort of feel to it, which I don't know. I mean, I don't picture Kansas that way, but sure, we'll go with it, right? Because that's what we have to. I mean, but what did you make of the town? Like, that there's this paranoia and all this business, and Brad runs into this girl that he once knew who's turned out to be semi-hot when she wasn't before, and all this, and this whole bit that he's like, no, it wasn't real, like all this denial and stuff. I mean, I guess that's what a small town would do, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm from a small town, and dude, it is Gossip City, man. I mean, you got it's like basically the best way I can describe a small town, especially a country small town, is that it's like a high school just expanded out into houses. I mean, you got cliques of people talking. You got little church groups, little groups that that know each other at the grocery store and the library and stuff. And I could see that maybe this family was blacklisted. I mean, in reality, I mean, when you go back to Critters, who really saw the Critters? It was this family and the sheriff. And no one else did. So it's extremely possible that maybe that, this family was, telling people about it, and they got labeled as crazy. Like, dude, this family's absolutely nuts, got blackballed, and they left.
Yeah, I could totally buy that. I mean, it just, nobody would work with them. Nobody wanted to deal with them, and they just had to pack up and go somewhere else. Sure. I think what I wanted was a dropped line of where they all were and why Brad got sent back to Grandma, what is she? Like a health food vegetarian daycare? Who the hell is this woman? She's really strange.
Yeah, she is very weird. I mean, the first thing she does is ask Brad if he's eating red meat.
Yeah,
I guess that's kind of a little joke about the Critters that all they do is eat red meat. I mean,
yeah, Oh, they're going to lay the red meat on heavy later, but we'll get there.
Yeah. But yeah, she's like it seems like she's probably like an ex-hippie, but she's way too old to be a hippie.
That's what I thought. I'm like, she's pre-hippie. Like, I don't know what she is. Maybe she was a flapper in the 20s. She should be that old, I guess.
I don't know. She's different. I guess she's like just crazy grandma. Maybe she was like just got into the hippie stuff when she was like in her 40s and stuff, and was like the MILF everybody hooked up with. I don't know.
This movie came out in 1988. Do you want to know the feel that I got off of her? She reminded me a whole lot of Grandpa from The Lost Boys, which came out in 1987, really a year before this. Did you remember any of that?
Yeah, definitely. I guess, yeah, what was he in The Lost Boys, too? I mean, I guess he was too old to be a hippie himself, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just kind of maybe just like a... They found the ganja, I guess that's what they say,
Yeah.
The kids were out smoking weed, and they left their cigar box in their room one day, and Grandma smoked that weird looking cigar that was in there, and got hooked.
Yeah.
I wrote a backstory to her.
There you go. You and your rewrites with these films, I'll tell you, they're genius. So, but yeah, that's exactly right. You've got this different set of weird characters this time, right? You've got you got some of the same old ones, but you got Grandma introduced into this, so she's going to be part of the plot at some point, right? And the whole thing is like these two guys go out to the Brown farm, and they find those eggs, and they take them to an antique shop, and Grandma winds up buying them and painting them up like Easter eggs for the kids, right? And why
can't she just go to the freaking Piggly Wiggly or whatever it is out there and buy regular store-bought eggs?
I think because she probably thinks those are raised on pesticides or something. She wants serious free-range eggs. So I don't know. I mean, it's a good question.
They could have totally played that up. That like she was like some health nut. Like maybe like one of these like women that reads like these magazines where it's like I gotta tie my menstrual cycle to the cycle of the earth type. You know what I'm saying? Like she puts on a headdress at night and she's like mother leaf or something. I don't know. I mean. Yeah, they could have done that where they're like, Grandma, why don't you just go get eggs from the grocery store? And like, oh no, those eggs are white and we got to use fresh farm eggs and stuff like that, or free range eggs. And then the one guy found these things and he's trying to play it off like, hey, yeah, I got fresh eggs over here. $5 a piece,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I like though that the thing is they have to heat them up. Like you have to do something to wake those eggs up, right? That's the whole point. But
yeah, but even before that though, I mean, okay, we get the Biff type character here.
Oh yeah, totally.
The guy in the leather jacket with terrible hair, but
it looks like a Gary Busey knockoff, by the way.
Totally, man. It's a cross between Gary Busey and Donald Trump with that hair. But yeah, I mean, they go into this farm and they're like, "Oh my God, this farm's really cold." Why would the farm be cold, man? This is like Kansas, dude.
Yeah,
Kansas is warm. This is Easter.
This is Easter. We're talking about April here. It's not cold, is it?
No, I think it's just probably like 60s there.
Yeah.
60s. I mean, maybe that's cold for an Alabama boy, but
yeah, it would be cool to me, but not for people that grew up there. And like at one point, like Brad and the new girl Megan are like standing outside talking at night, and like you can see their breath like smoking up.
Who's the girl from Gremlins? What's her name? Phoebe Cates?
Phoebe Cates. Yeah, she's
can
definitely...
Can we just call her Ugly Phoebe Cates?
She is the Phoebe Cates ripoff, no doubt. I agree. That's
yeah. She's the homely Phoebe Cates.
Yes, no doubt. She did not have a a Fast Times at Ridgemont High scene in her past at any point. But I don't know, man. I just like that's the thing to me is I think all the characters last time really worked and like they endeared themselves to me. Here I only care about Brad, Charlie, and Ugg and Lee. Like I don't care about any of these other people. So I'm just waiting for them to all get eaten or go away.
You don't care about the sheriff?
Not really, because he's barely in this. Like, I like Barry Corbin, but he gets like 2 scenes and then he's just gone. I don't know, man. He was too much of a caricature this time to me. Like, I thought the sheriff was actually pretty fun last time. Now I don't know, it's too much of a trope. Like that he got run out of town in the next election and they elected the Bruce Campbell lookalike, and now he's, just basically sitting up in his trailer watching game shows all afternoon long. I don't know. It didn't do much for me this time.
I guess they're trying to bring back another character because he lost the family, so they're bringing in this guy here, and they're trying to give him more to do. Because really, what did he do in the first one?
Nothing. He saw what happened, but that's it. So
yeah, he showed up. He got picked up by fake Charlie, and that was basically it. And he couldn't shoot the big giant one because he was scared. I mean, that was basically his whole plot.
Right, and I'm wondering, why can't you bring back M. Emmett Walsh? Was he too busy? I mean, I don't know. I don't know why they couldn't have got him back, at least. Because if you had not seen the first one or not paid real close attention to it and stuff, I don't think you would have known this was the same sheriff, would you? If they don't go through the extent to tell you that they do.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't know it was a sheriff at first. I mean, they obviously know he was an ex-sheriff, but it's like, is that the same guy? I don't know. Just it took me a little bit to realize, okay, it is the same guy from the first one.
Yeah, it's the same character, different actor this time around. So, but I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of strange.
I think they wanted to bring in someone who's a little bit more funny. I guess some guy who's going to kind of maybe chew the scenery a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And Barry Corbin will do that, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, what else have I seen Barry Corbin in?
You have seen him. Well, if you've ever seen War Games, he's one of the Air Force colonels in that. He's been in. Oh, hold on, let me pull his thing real quick. He was the coach on One Tree Hill. That was much later in his career, I should say. But he's done that. He was in Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. He was in Urban Cowboy. He was in the remake of Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah, he always plays
the same character.
He plays the country bumpkin sidekick. That's exactly who he is.
Yeah, he looks really familiar, but even just going through his his resume, I don't recognize any of these movies that he's in. I mean, I've heard of them, but I haven't seen any of these. So.
Oh man, I've seen him in all kinds of My Science Project. I see this dude all through the 80s and the 90s. He was in No Country for Old Men too. So I mean, he's done serious stuff, but he generally plays in kind of light fare and I don't know. I like him. I think he's fun. I think he's interesting. I can get off on my tangent about what I like him in, but I don't know. I like the actor fine. I don't think this character serves any purpose being here is what I'm trying to get at. I really would have been fine if it was just Brad going back. We introduce Crazy Grandma and a girl that used to have zits that's now semi-hot, or at least for Brad, she would be hot. And we just bring back the bounty hunters and Charlie. I don't need all this other. The town gets too big. It's the Stephen Kinging of this series. I want to just go ahead and say, Mick Garris, no wonder you got chosen to do King films, because there's a lot of characters that don't need to be there, and you obviously know how to direct things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, let's get into a little bit more of the plot here. I mean, you get everything kind of going here where it's like this Easter celebration and stuff, and then the grandma buys these eggs from this antique swindler guy or whatever, and she goes ahead and they paint them for this. I guess this town has this big Easter egg hunt. That's what this town is known for.
Yeah, apparently so. Who knew?
And it's pretty lame Easter egg hunt. I mean, they did it in the backyard of the church. I mean, it wasn't a big town thing where they shut down Main Street and they do it. It's
okay, hold on a minute on that side. They're having their Easter church ceremony, okay, which can be, in small Protestant churches, can be really formal stuff, right? And they're going to bring out the sheriff dressed up like the Easter bunny in the middle of the service. And that is next level crazy.
I think I did laugh at this scene, though, because let's just get into it, okay?
Yeah.
They put these eggs all around here and stuff, and they start hatching at this point. And you get this sheriff who's kind of a dick, and he's putting on this Easter bunny outfit, and he can't get the crotch to zip up. And he's making a joke about, oh great, I'm going to give these kids a real lesson in education. It's yeah, dude, you're a freaking pervert. But also, the critters all just go boop, 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 and they'll jump into his crotch.
Yes, and they just start chewing him
it's
up.
funny. It's funny when this happens. Just the sound effects of them just going boop, boop, boop into him. And then, he crashes through, the church window, and I guess, his stomach was eaten out from the inside, and, everybody at church is saying, well, it was a farm accident or something like that, and, but the girl there, homely Phoebe Cates is, telling Brad, she goes, no, I think it's the creatures that you once fought. They're back now and stuff, and Of course, Brad's in denial and everything like that. So,
well, okay, let's ask about that, though, because he talks that game like he's in denial, but then we see him up in Grandma's attic looking through pictures of, like, him and Charlie with the slingshot and sort of remembering, like, nobody believes this, and all this stuff. It's like he's putting on a front, but he still knows, his truth.
Yeah, he knows the truth, but I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying, is that I think he's just kind of in denial around these people because he doesn't want people to bring it up to him. I think what would have happened was that the family was excommunicated from this town for making up a story, and he's just trying to get past it. He's trying to just go have a nice vegan Easter with his friend.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, he just wants to be left alone, and then these dang things come back into his life, But Charlie comes back into his life too, and he seems to kind of dig that. And old Charlie here, what's the thing about him is he didn't want to get left behind. Well, at the end of this thing, he does get left, but it's kind of like by his choice, right? He also gets Charlie back though too. So what did you make of the fact that when the bounty hunters all show up and stuff, that's when everybody knows, oh yeah, it's coming. And then the critters attack Grandma's house, and of course, like out of the blue, the bounty hunters show up and blow the critters apart. What did you make of that?
Yeah, it's just trying to be funny. I mean, the movie at this point, it's just trying to be funny with that because, like, he's looking for the remote, and the grandma has kept it by the other remotes. Because it's like, well, that's what you keep all the remotes together. I mean, that's what grandmas do. You go over to their house, and they have a little custom little cup with something they sewed that they put inside, so it's decorative, and they keep all the remotes in there. I mean, that's what grandmas do. And he finds it, and he hits it, and right when he hits it, the bounty hunters show up, and they blow one through the door. They blow the crate that's in midair about to attack him through the wall and into another wall in the kitchen. I mean,
let's talk about the effects here, because that's clearly the thing that's been upgraded. The Krites are much more mobile now. They fly, and when they get splattered, like they actually splatter. Before they just kind of fell over, right? They just inflated like puppets and stuff. Now, like they have blood and guts.
Yeah, they got green blood and guts, and they're bigger too. I mean, these things are bigger. I mean, before, we're saying soccer ball. And soccer ball was kind of generous. I mean, they were probably more of a size of a cantaloupe, maybe last movie. I mean, they weren't very big.
No.
But this one, they're like beach ball size.
Yeah, they're definitely like women's basketball size. They definitely look much bigger. And they also do something else. They can roll in tandem together now. How about that? I thought that was actually kind of cool. If you're going to bring back the creatures again in the second movie, you got to give them like the next level up, right? Jaws 2 taught us this. The second shark got burned in the face. So, he was a real badass shark versus the first one, right? So
it's like, you got to upgrade them. I mean, you can't just show the same stuff again. I mean, you look at a movie like Aliens, and you go from having the alien, you go to the Queen Alien. I mean, you got to do an upgrade somehow.
Well, or even more in this movie's league. In the second Piranha film, they got wings and could fly. So I think that's right along those lines.
Or in Gremlins, they got spider legs or learned how to talk.
I have never seen Gremlins 2, so that may be a trip we take sometimes. I did not know that. So that'll be interesting to know. But I don't know. I like the critters this time, though. I thought the effects work in this was just as good, if not better, than the last time.
Yeah, I like the designs of them. I think are more fleshed out in this movie, where before it was like you could see what they look like, but there were some shots where they look kind of bad. I mean, I remember in the first one where they lit a fire in the back hall, and I still think it's a funny scene where the one critter's like yelling at the fire, where he's going but the critter looked pretty, pretty cheap,
Yeah.
And especially even like when they would kill him before, I mean, they just pulled like a chunk of fur, and it's like, oh yeah, that's a dead critter. Where here it's like, they actually can move like their lips around a little bit, and like they got like a little bit more eye movement and everything. I mean,
oh yeah,
it's completely been upgraded now, where it's like they're not afraid to do a close up. They're not afraid to show these in the light. I mean, in the last movie, you never saw these in the daylight.
No,
it was all at night to hide a lot of stuff. In this one, it's like, no, broad daylight.
Oh yeah, and I like that though. I like the fact that they are willing to put them out there, and we do get to see them. Most of this takes place in the day. I think that's kind of the cool part of it. There's a lot of attacks, and what about when they attack the theme song to this place, man?
You mean where Revenge of the Nerd guy's working?
The Hungry Heifer Manager. You call him Revenge of the Nerd guy. I know him as the Grease guy too. I mean, he's that, and also the War Games guy, Eddie Deason, who will always play the most egg-headed nerd you can find, right? The Hungry Heifer.
God, the nose on that guy. He was never given a chance.
Well, what did you make of the Hungry Heifer, though? And like this town also had like a meat plant, like a frozen burger plant.
I liked it. I thought it was funny. I mean, you got this song playing, and it's a catchy song. I mean, you heard it in the last episode as we ended the show. I mean, it's a catchy song. I got it on my iPod.
Do you work out to this? Do you get pumped to this?
It's my song when I do deadlifts.
I have a feeling I'm gonna have to make that your ringtone now.
But yeah, the critters here at the restaurant. It's a pretty funny scene because you get Ugg and Lee showing up, and you know these guys are completely trigger happy. We saw it in the last movie, and they just start blowing this shit out of this restaurant like it's almost like Dutch and Crew and Predator, where they're just laying out a half acre of forest. It's
yes.
Like they're just shooting everything up, and I think it's actually kind of funny here too. I mean, one of the critters falls in a deep fryer, and he's all red and he's yelling and stuff, and then one of them gets like his head his top of his hair shot off, so he's got the Prodigy reverse mohawk.
Yeah.
And he looks in the mirror and he's like, bitchin'. I don't know. Like I said, I like the critters. I think they're funny.
Yeah, we should say this. They're like when they encountered them at the Hungry Heifer, the critters are dining on like the salad bar, beef bar, like they're just going to town, eating on all this stuff.
Nuts.
Yeah, and then they see the bounty hunters come in, and they're like, "Oh no!" And it's like a scene out of the Muppets, and these guys just start blasting them. It's hilarious, though. I'm with you. I was laughing. I mean, I was like, "Man, this movie is really stupid, but this is funny." And I don't know. I kind of dug it.
Oh, I did too. I mean, calling this the Muppets it's what it is. I mean, this is PG-13 Muppets right now.
Big time.
If the Muppets had a man-eating Muppet, it would be a critter. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, it's almost like Animal in a way. The way it's acting too, the way it's like I said, it's just they're going to town in this restaurant, just like ripping stuff up, and it's funny. It's like watching Cookie Monster eat cookies.
Yeah, he's just going nuts. Yeah, and they blast a bunch of them. A bunch of them get away. That's where we see him rolling the ball. We should talk about Lee here, though, who's still can't decide on what form he wants. And Ugg drops this thing about like when you choose a form, it's because you respect it and all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, he's setting something up with that. Well, Charlie, when they first land, finds an old Playboy magazine laying in the dirt and starts flipping through it. And good American literature. Yeah. And Lee starts to transform, and we learn something about the transformation. Charlie throws up that picture of the centerfold because he doesn't want Lee to be him, and Lee turns into a Lee that's a girl, like with everything. Like she pops out, and that we get a little toplessness. I was like, wow, remember when you could do that in PG-13 movies? That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what these bounty hunters are like made out of, like their density or something, but it's just funny seeing like, it grows boobs and rips the clothing off. It's like,
yeah, I know.
It's like, yeah, okay, I'll go with it. I mean, we get a boob shot here.
Well, but what's funny is like as she's storming across the field heading into the town, she's basically just wearing like a retro barbarian thong, and that's it. But by the time she gets into town, she's got the full gear on. Just the legs are exposed.
You had Charlie running after her with the clothes going, yeah, you got to put this on. You got to put this on.
Oh, okay.
So they did cover that. They did cover that.
Okay, I missed that part, but that's a good point. Well, they get to town and they're blowing all this stuff up. And as it turns out, though, the critters have gotten smart and they lay a trap, and Lee gets like totally devoured. What did you make of that? That was big. I didn't expect to see one of the bounty hunters go down.
I guess you kind of had to. I mean, it weakens the chance the humans have of winning. I mean, the bounty hunters showed up at the end of the first movie, and just their presence alone made the critters disappear. So you kind of had to weaken them down a little bit to make these critters more of a threat. I mean, they already are, a foot and 12 inches tall. So you got to make them a little bit more, you got to make the threat a little bit bigger. So by killing Lee, it was a shock. It was like, oh my God, I forgot this person died in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think it was a good move on the movie to actually it takes both the bounty hunters out, because one, it kills Lee. And then when Ugg goes there to see exactly that Lee is dead, he has like a panic attack or whatever, untransformed from Johnny Steele. And he's just kind of like comatose for basically the rest of the the movie.
Well, yeah,
so
right.
It's basically now it's up to Charlie and Brad now to like take over the human role. I mean, to take over the role of the bounty hunters. I mean, they got to be the heroes now.
Right, and it's actually Charlie who does this whole little pep talk with Ugg that gets him back in the game after they're like, look, they got the whole town around, the town's ready to take a stand, which is another Stephen King trope, again, but they're all ready to do something, but they've got to have him there, and he gives him this little pep talk, and I love what happens is they essentially decide they're going to lure the critters who are all like starting to eat in mass together. They're going to lure them to the frozen burger plant in town, Polar Burger, I think it's called, or something like that. And the way they do it, and it's not revealed until the end, is that Ugg transforms into a big kite. And he comes up to him and says, cheeseburgers are better because they're meat with no bones, so you don't have to pick them clean like the cows. So all the critters, hundreds of them, roll toward this big meat plant, right? And they're going to trap him inside to kill him. And that's when he reveals himself to have, been the insider. I kind of liked that. I thought that was smart. I had never thought the shapeshifter could just be one of them and trick them.
Well, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about last podcast, was these bounty hunters were bipeds. And I guess that doesn't really matter. I guess they can really transform into what they want. I mean, the critters are bipeds in a way because they do walk. But, I mean, it's a complete transformation. He went from being 6 foot tall down to being, he's a bigger critter, but, probably 18 inches, maybe just under 2 feet. So it's kind of neat to see. And I forgot about that too. I thought that was just the leader, critter.
Yeah.
Maybe they would have to fight in the end, or maybe he'd, eat the rest of them and become like a big giant one. Cause I remember little bits of this movie. I remember there was a big giant ball at the end. So I didn't know if it was like all of them getting together, or maybe this big one somehow ate everything and then became the huge one. But yeah, it turns out it is Ugg. He helps him shut the gate, cuts one of the critters in half, which again is funny. Anytime these things die, I laugh. And then they blow up this hamburger refrigerator building or wherever where they keep all the patties. And it's not. They're not dead. They get all together and they make a big giant ball.
Oh, yeah, and I love this, though, because, again, I was down with the fact that they had a new element. They could all form together and just be this rolling thing of teeth, and, like, they run down one guy, and as they roll over him, not only do they smash him, but, like, they strip his whole back off, and it's just, skin and bones in the back. I thought that was cool. I mean, it's cheesy, yes. It's total goofball stuff, but it's what should be done in this kind of movie. I mean, we've already killed the Easter Bunny. We did all kinds of crazy stuff. We might as well have them be a rolling ball of butcher knives.
Well, again, it goes back to the little aliens thing. I mean, you need a bigger one in the sequel to take them on. And so then we get, it's heading to town, and they realize real quick, like, oh, this thing's going towards a church, man. It's going to take them out. It's going to take out all the children. It knows where they are. So it's going back in the town. So Brad and homely Phoebe Cates get in the pickup truck, and then they're heading back there, and they're trying to stop this thing. They're trying to knock it off its path and, trying to stop it. And, they end up crashing their car, and they knock it off course, but it circles around and it's going right back towards the church. And I got to ask this too. It's like Brad and homely Phoebe Cates. It's like, why do they go to the church? I mean, they just go stand there and they're going to brace for impact from this thing. It's like,
it's like the whole
run
town.
Away.
It's like the whole town decided we're just gonna all hold up in here and die together. It was very weird. That's what I said. I was like, I don't really know why they would just give up after that one try. Get some more TNT and give another shot. Or maybe there's not a Mack truck around. There's not some farm equipment. That's what I really thought was going to happen. Somebody, the sheriff was going to drive up with a harvester and pick up the ball or whatever. But the only time he shows back up is that Brad runs after some little girl that's getting chased by the critters, and he shoots a bunch of them down with his 6-shooters or whatever in total like Texas culture, which is really different from Kansas. But whatever, I don't know. I kind of wanted them to do something more like that.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't like that they're all just standing there like ready to give up. I mean, these things are not invulnerable. It's like they're very, very susceptible to like any type of attack you're going to put at them, but they all just kind of like huddle together, start hugging, like, oh, it's over for us. But of course Charlie then shows up. He takes off after the big, or even before the giant ball Critter comes out, he takes off. Everybody thinks he's just being a coward. Well, it turns out he went and got his bounty hunter ship, and he does basically a suicide run into the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Like he does a big crash into the ball, and it blows blows him to bits. And what did you make of that? I mean, did you like that turn for Charlie this time?
I guess it was probably the natural evolution of his character that he was going to go and he's going to pull a Dark Knight Rises and just blow up the ship at the end and save the whole town. I mean, I liked it. I mean, what else in a way you got to have Charlie do something in the end. I mean, the first movie Charlie saves the day. This one he's got to save the day. I mean, it's kind of the
it's the thing of the series is how is Charlie going to save the day, but you didn't see it coming, and that's the thing is Charlie's like, am I a bounty hunter? Am I one of them? And they're never totally straight with him about that. And you kind of get the idea like, no, you're not really one of us. But in the end, of course, he becomes that. And Ugg decides he's going to transform and look like Charlie in honor of Charlie. That whole drop line about, that whole drop line about, you take on the form of someone that you respect, or all that kind of stuff, a high form of respect when you transform and all that stuff. I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, it was neat. And what about the fact that he pops up at the end? He's like, no, I parachuted out. Somebody help me get this thing off of me.
Nah, you didn't really want to see Charlie die. And even, I was going to ask you this too, I completely forgot, but when we saw Ugg was a critter and then he transformed back out of it, did you originally first think that might have been Lee?
Yeah, I kind of was wondering if that was like he had transformed back out of that, but then I remembered I was like, no, it's too tall for one, and they call it out, that it's Ugg, I think they call it out because I think that would have been confusing. He was like, oh, was that Lee the whole time? But it's not. It's definitely Ugg.
I think I would have liked it if it was Lee, though. It would have been like, he didn't die.
He's missing an arm, because we did see his arm severed there, but it was him without the arm. That would have been kind of cool, sure. And then Johnny Steele shows back up, and when he sees his friend again, sure.
Yeah, they go. I mean, I don't know. Were they lovers or something?
I don't think so.
I gotta ask this.
I think you're
he seemed really depressed.
I think you're reading way too much into that. This is like cop partners, right? And your partner gets killed, and you're depressed for it. This is Murtaugh and Riggs of the Intergalactic Bounty Hunter Association. I don't think there's any Nightmare on Elm Street 2 stuff.
I'm using my 2013 eyes on a lot of this. I mean, Charlie and Brad behind the barn,
and now Ugg and Lee are lovers apparently. So, but in the end, Brad gets to kiss not Phoebe Cates, and finally, everybody gets on the bus to leave town, including the old sheriff, and he tosses Charlie the badge, and Charlie gets to stay behind to be the new sheriff of whatever's left. Is
that how it works?
I guess it works that way in a lot of westerns. You ever seen?
If you have any listeners in Kansas, can you verify that that's all you need to do to become a sheriff is just have the sheriff give you a badge?
Because if that is, I'm moving there next week. I got words for you, folks. But I do want to know. It is kind of a trope, but whatever.
Oh, it is. I mean, you see it all the time in Western movies. I mean, they even did it like in Tombstone, where it was like,
they didn't
now Wyatt Earp's the sheriff now, or he's the marshal just because they found an extra badge.
Right. Well, I mean, that happens at the end of Silverado. Kevin Kline kills the bad one, and then he's the sheriff. That's pretty much it, I guess. Right? That's what we're gonna go with. But I don't know. It's okay. It kind of ends, so whatever. But Ugg, departs in his new spacecraft because they sent him another one, still wearing the guise of Charlie. And I don't know, I kind of like that. I thought, if they go to another one, which I know there's two more, I'm going to wonder, is this really Charlie or is this Ugg as Charlie? They're setting that whole thing up.
Oh, it'll be, from what I remember, it's very clear who's who.
Yeah, well, we'll have to get there when we get there because Leonardo DiCaprio waits. But before that, Nick, what is your final thoughts, recommendations, and popcorn ratings for Critters 2?
Well, anytime you have a sequel to a movie like this, you kind of just gotta. It's usually a cash grab, whatever. But I think they actually really tried with this movie, and they really tried to push the comedic tone a lot more than the first one, and a lot of it really hits, but there is some misses in here, and there's a lot more misses in this movie than there was for the first one. The characters aren't nearly as good. I mean, at least in the first one, you kind of got like the Freeling family from Poltergeist in there, a family you actually kind of somewhat care about. This one, you really don't really care about the characters. I mean, if homely Phoebe Cates gets her head bitten off, no one's going to lose any sleep over it. If Grandma, dies, no one's really going to care about it. You really only care about Brad and Charlie, and that's just baggage left over from the first movie. But I enjoy this movie. I think it's got a lot of cool stuff in there. I like the bounty hunter stuff in here. I think some of the comedy is really good. I think that the critters look better in this movie. They do more, and I like the whole aspect of them being able to basically join together and make bigger critters, just by making them, adding themselves together. And for me, it's a medium popcorn. It's a strong medium popcorn, extra butter, extra salt on there. It's a movie I enjoy, and it's a great 1-2 flick when you watch these back to back, because it's just kind of nice to see a lot of the same cast return, even if it's not the main players from the first one.
Yeah, I will say this film gets kudos for trying new things and for adding elements that make sense. Charlie's character has grown a little bit. He's got a little more confidence. He seems to be a good member of the group. We learn more about the transforming bounty hunters, and we get the critters able to roll in the balls together. I think that's the cool thing. To me, the thing that makes this watchable is the effects and the improved, I guess, kitschy fun that they're having with it. It's just, I don't know. It's just a lot more tongue-in-cheek here. I don't think this is as good as the first one, and I think a lot of it is that there's just too many people that I don't care about in it, and that's the problem. If it was a smaller cast, I'd be with you on this medium popcorn thing, but the rest of this cast really drags this movie down for me. I'm going to give it a small popcorn, and it's not like the same kind of horrible small popcorn that Leprechaun 4 is or something, but it's small because it just tries and fails, but it's kind of fun in doing it. And I do recommend, if you're going to watch it, watch them in close succession with each other. I think if you put days between them, I don't know that it would be as enjoyable, but I pretty well watched them back to back, and that made a huge difference in how much I was able to enjoy this one too. So that's me for Critters 2, and you as well. And next time, Critters 3 with Leonardo DiCaprio. I cannot wait to see
if you've seen Critters and you would go, hey, how great would it be if they mix Critters and Die Hard together? That's what you get in Critters 3. So,
wow, I can't wait to get to that one. Folks, thanks for joining us in this latest episode of Film Strip. Of course, you can find more episodes in the archive section of our website, continuousplaypodcast.com/filmstrip. And you can hook up with us on Facebook and Twitter there. Let us know what you think, and we always appreciate your support. Until next time, for Nick, I'm Jay. Thanks for listening to Film Strip.
Thanks for listening to Film Strip.
I think you all better be leaving before somebody gets hurt.
Visit our website, continuousplaypodcast.com, for more reviews and episodes. All content used or discussed in this podcast are the property of their respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504(c)(2), Title 17.
At the hungry heifer, we won't give you one cent.